Okay, so the Boxman Day 3. We're going to be reviewing syntax really quickly. We're going to read paragraph 8 together, and then we're going to send you off into independent reading and note taking on that Google Doc for paragraphs 9 through 11. So syntax, once again, the way the author arranges the words and punctuation to create greater meaning. Remember, syntax only really counts if you can identify how that choice the author made impacted the audience. Quick review. Long sentences tend to be to mimic what's going on with the story or with a person or an experience they're talking about. Shorter sentences tend to emphasize this is very important because it stands out more, and then different punctuation can have these different effects. And so, just a quick reminder. Boxman. Part 1, remember the Boxman was introduced. She has a lot of positive respect through her word choice and almost an admiring tone for the Boxman who's living on the street in New York. Part 2, last time we covered the part where she talked about the Boxcar Children, the story she read when she was growing up, and Henry David Thoreau, the author who chose to live alone in the woods. And she uses almost this wistful diction with these allusions, letting us know that she kind of envies the freedom that the Boxcar Children had in their story, and so she's a little bit almost jealous of the freedom that those characters had. We still don't know what the audience and purpose is yet. However, we're kind of putting clues together. There's been a lot of talk about how to live your life and are you living your life free, which are going to hopefully lead into a little bit of a better understanding about what the message is and who would need to hear that message. Okay, so for today's focus, we're actually going to be looking at syntax, of course. You're going to highlight, anything that you see as far as an interesting syntax choice, and then make sure you make a comment and talk about how and what you think the author's intent was with this choice. All right, so let's jump into it. Paragraph 11. He's not to be confused with the lonely ones. You'll find them everywhere. The lady who comes into our local coffee shop each evening at 5:30 orders a bowl of soup and extra saltines. She drags it out as long as possible, breaking the crackers into smaller and smaller pieces, first in halves, then halves of halves, and so on, until the last pieces burst into salty splinters and fall from dry fingers onto the soup's shimmering surface. By 6 p.m., it's all over. What will she do for the rest of the night? So I've highlighted a couple things. There's a lot of good imagery there as the crackers are cracking, the shimmering soup. All of that is really good as far as imagery, and hopefully that's something you recognize. But today we're focusing on syntax, and so I highlighted that third sentence. It's a very long sentence, but I highlighted it because it seems like Asher here is using the long sentence to mimic how the woman feels in the cafe. She is breaking these crackers into smaller and smaller pieces. She wants this experience to last forever because, as it's noted in the beginning, she's one of the lonely ones. She's actually lonely. She wants to be around people, and so she's eating her meal as slowly as possible, just so that she can spend a little bit more time with people around her, even if she's not talking to them. And so that makes it a very sad sentence, and the sentence drags on in a very sad way. You kind of want somebody to go up to her and talk to her, but nothing happens. She just keeps breaking the crackers over and over again, and so she hopes the meal goes on forever, but of course it doesn't. And that brings us to our next one. It's all over. So by 6 p.m. it's all over. That's a very short sentence, and that's once again to emphasize this fact that that's the most important part of this. She didn't actually have somebody walk up to her. She's sitting and eating there all alone, and it's all over by 6 p.m. She wanted it to last forever, but it didn't, and so it's almost like a sad and somber idea. And it really stands out more because of how short it is. It would take away, she wanted this thing, but it didn't work out. And then lastly, I've actually highlighted the question mark there at the end, because asking a question at the end is one way that you can help the reader to think through something that you want them to. And so it happens all the time in school. Teachers going through something, they talk about something, and they ask you a question to make you think more deeply about it. And a writer can do the exact same thing. And so if the question is not meant to be answered, or the question is not meant to be answered right away by the writer, it's called a rhetorical question. And so a rhetorical question here is, what will she do the rest of the night? The answer here is implied. It's sad, but The answer is nothing. She's not going to do anything for the rest of the night. This was the highlight of her day, sadly, and ultimately, like, she is lonely, and she's going to continue to spend the rest of the night lonely, wishing she was around people as well. And so, by making that a question rather than stating it, it really forces the reader to think, what is she going to do the rest of the night? So, strong syntax choice by the author. Okay, so for paragraphs 12 through 15, you're going to read the rest on your own. Make sure you highlight any syntax that stands out to you, and make sure you create a comment that says why you think the author might have done that. All right, so if you've got any questions, please feel free to reach out. Number is 440-670-6979, and email, text, phone, all of them work. So if you got any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a good one.